Hey everyone, Melissa here. I'm getting ready to head over to the gym while my son is working. I just want to talk about relationships for a minute. It's something I've been wanting to talk about. So, what do we do when we have relationships that are toxic, like all around us? Um, we want to be able to heal. We want to be able to rise above it all. And I know something for me, like I had a mother who and father who both coerced me and made decisions into an abortion when I was a teenager, and it certainly was okay for, in my mother's eyes, to let me date a boy for about a year, and they knew that sexual activity was going on. um, I remember a conversation with my father, and he said, you're supposed to wait until you get married. And I had picked up different views at school, and then that was it. And then once I got pregnant, that was a whole different story. That was like, it's not biologically okay to get pregnant, although that is what your body does. So my mother played the blame game and made it look like, she twisted everything to make it look like, you know, this was all my fault. I was incompetent. I was way too young. Years later, it was swept under the rug, and there was no conversation about it except I was too young. And there was no prenatal care when she found out I was pregnant. My boyfriend's parents, his father was a fire chief in the town, so there were decisions made that I was not part of, although it was my body, my child. My boyfriend, his parents, his family talked to my family, and it was arranged that this is what was going to happen. So I had no idea what abortion was. I had not even heard of the word until it was introduced to me. And then I was kind of dragged over my boyfriend's house when we found out I was pregnant, or I found out I was pregnant, and my mother took over the whole conversation, and pretty much, I was still mad at him for the condom broke, and it was, he told me that it was safe, but when I questioned it, but as I was breaking up with him, I think he wanted me to stay with him, so he did use a condom that was not okay. And sure enough, I was pregnant and didn't even know it. I went on and lived my life as if I wasn't even pregnant, because I decided after the condom broke and I felt tricked, definitely breaking up with him. I had already tried to break up with him, and he was crying. He didn't want me to break up with him. And I felt for some reason it was my responsibility to make him feel better. It was my fault somehow that, I was hurting his feelings. And, I was just way too nice as a teen. And anyways, yeah, so I was brought to OBGYN in Concord, New Hampshire. I was taken right in. It was kind of like hush hush. There was no informed consent at all. My mother actually handed me the papers to sign and said, don't even read it, just sign it. So she got out of signing it, and then I just did what she said. I mean, I had a mother who, you did what you were told kind of thing, and there were no questions or anything, and I didn't understand what was going on. And then I was quickly taken up into a room and told to lay down and put my feet up, to change and put my feet up in these stirrups. No idea what was going on, what was coming. I mean, even now at the dentist, the dentist will say, this is, to my kids, this is what will happen. We're going to put this on your teeth, or we're going to do this. Well, I didn't have anything, and they just stuck this stuff in me. And then I was told I could leave, or I was told to go downstairs. And, my mother took me to a restaurant. This was Week's Restaurant in Concord. They're not there anymore, but they were there years ago. And I could not even sit up. I just could not sit up at all. The pain, there was no medication. The pain was unbearable. And I had a waitress come by who said, you know, is she okay? Food was already ordered. Yeah, she's fine was kind of the response. And then it was, let's get out of here. So the check was given. I remember I had to stand at the register and make sure it was taken care of. And then, you know, then I was taken into a car and I had to stay there, and I'm in labor with no medical care at all before I'm brought back to the clinic. And I had blocked out a lot, and I'm still kind of, you know, certain pieces are still coming together for me, but I remember just, you know, staring at the wall pretty much the whole time. But when the machine turned on, I just remember looking over to my side and seeing a machine with blood being sucked into the machine, and then the nurse blocked my view real quick, held my hand, and said it's going to be okay. So the reason why I share this is not so much to get into the abortion, because I had already done videos about the abortion. I was then taken, you know, kind of treated like trash. The doctor was just really cold, gray-haired man. And then I went downstairs and my boyfriend's mother was there. I don't think I knew that she was going to pick me up. So I felt abandoned. I felt a little betrayed there. Then I was taken home and I was told I could walk partway home so that my brother would not know what was going on. The school bus came early. It was early release day. My brother did ask why I wasn't on the school bus, what was going on. My father said, keep your mouth shut, don't say anything. This was something that he chose to tell my brother without my permission. On and on it went. Before the abortion, my mother had barged into the bathroom on me, as she usually did, and for some reason, which she never did, asked if I had gotten my period. Which, I mean, a teenage girl being busy with a big social life, it's something that, you know, I never kept track of, so why would I keep track of it now? And she pretty much shamed me and just was like, don't tell me you're pregnant. Don't tell me you're pregnant. And it was pretty negative. And then she went behind my back, told my father, which I didn't really have much of a relationship with my father, but she went and told on me, and he shamed me and condemned me. So all this shame and stuff, the reason why I'm talking about this is I'm talking about relationships. In the abortion is where you think that the problem was, but it was actually way before this. The abortion is just a symptom many times of a bad relationship, because abortion is an abuse. It's abuse of a child. It's an abuse and a violence on the woman who's having one. And, you know, I'm just thinking back too that I just lost my thought. Just, this was just a symptom. So as I became, you know, it was, what do you want to call it? Swept under the rug for years and years. And then when I was, I didn't even think I could have kids. My husband and I were trying to have kids and it wasn't happening. And I felt God was punishing me, which can be another symptom a woman has. So lo and behold, I was pregnant with my firstborn son. And I went to a pregnancy center, and I heard that they gave out free pregnancy tests, and I figured, I'm pretty cheap and frugal, so I'm just gonna go over there and get a free test. Why not? So I went over there and I happened to mention the abortion, which I only told a couple people. And so I mentioned it in passing, and the lady there said, God forgives as far as the east to the west. And that was that. And then as I was pregnant, I felt my son kick. And I didn't show. I didn't show at all. I mean, I had a pretty flat stomach still. And the reason why I didn't even think about being pregnant before is, number one, I knew nothing about being pregnant or prenatal care or anything. I got some explanation in 6th grade that the guy puts his thing in a woman's thing, and that's how you get pregnant. And that was about it, other than in school, which I was an AB student, I did hear about the egg and the sperm. But yeah, so I had a pretty flat stomach still, and my baby was kicking, and I just was putting 1 plus 1 together and felt like, oh my goodness, if I'm this far along and I don't look pregnant, and I know I am, and the baby's kicking, then I didn't look pregnant before, so was it a baby then? And we're living in a world that will tell you it's just a blob of tissue. And I didn't get my records until years down the road when I chose to heal. And sure enough, they say, a blob of tissue was removed. So the deceitful language, the way it's presented is just full of lies. So what I did was, when I became a mother, I became pretty protective, and I don't regret it. It wasn't too protective, but I really enjoyed being a mother. And as I mothered, my voice came out more, and my mother continued to want what she wanted with her grandkids, so to say. And I had 3 at the time, and it was just really unhealthy. I mean, car seats were not being used. Formula was being taken out of a can instead of mixed correctly when I did let her watch my firstborn. Comments being said like, one of my sons was a loner. Another one, my dad had said something like, oh, the first 2 will turn out good. I don't know about your other one. I mean, just the negativity with putting, your kids down is something that a mother needs to protect her kids from, because they internalize things. I mean, until they're older, they don't have the experience to know that, yeah, this isn't really true, so they will believe lies. And I know that happened to me growing up. A lot of times reality, or the truth, was not there. There was justifying. There was, oh yeah, like, you were too young. I mean, that's a lie. Or, oh, well, like my grandmother, oh, she's tired, or they're just this, or they're just that. And the lies around you instead of the plain old truth. The manipulation, the coercion, the toxic ways of dealing with things, rather than living in reality. And, making up the lies to justify the way you live is not freeing. I'm a Christian. I got saved shortly after I had my firstborn, and Jesus said the truth will set you free. And it's true. Truth is not something to be scared of. It's something to embrace. If you make a mistake, you ask God for forgiveness, and He forgives you. There's no shame in that. So, let me see. So from there were just, one thing after another, and I'm trying to think. So, we had our 3, and then my husband had cancer, and then we had 2 more. The doctor said, you probably are not going to be able to have more kids. And sure enough, the doctors are not always right. They don't always know what they're doing. I was just at a hearing where a doctor in Concord from OBGYN had said, doctors know best at end-of-life care. They do not always know best. So, and I just read in the paper that a bill is going through now. It went through the House. It needs to go to the Senate, about protecting babies after 24 weeks. New Hampshire has a law that you can have an abortion for any old reason, any time, up until 9 months. This would restrict abortion, which I am really thankful God is answering prayers, because you're killing a child. And definitely as you get in those older stages, the baby is suffering, you know, when you're ripping its legs off, etc. So the mother's right to her body does not, and I think this goes back to Roe versus Wade, it does not have that, a woman doesn't have that right when there is a potential for life. It works hand in hand. So somehow Roe versus Wade has gotten twisted to be pretty one-sided with just the woman's right. So anyways, as life went on, you know, I heard, oh, we can't grandparent our grandkids. My father wanted to be a grandfather but didn't seem to want to be a father, where he disowned me because I had said that one of my boys could go fishing, but the other one I felt like all day long would be way too much for him. It was a decision that I had a right to make as a mother. He did not like it. So, you know, it's just too bad. When you're the mother is the one who makes the decisions over the grandparents. Parental rights we have. So, you know, there was, and then by the time I had my 5th one, I was pregnant, and I was hearing, oh my goodness, you're not having another one, are you? And more diapers, and there was no support. And at that point, I was just like, you know what, not now. Not now. I have enough on my plate. We lived in a trailer with 5 kids. We were pretty minimalist. We lived on very little income, so I could stay home and homeschool my kids. And I had my hands full. And rather than coming alongside your daughter and offering support and, you know, having a can-do attitude, you know, I'm really proud of you, it was a lot of negativity. And even when I graduated school early in high school, it was, there wasn't, you know, a lot given. I mean, it was kind of like, you know, I did it on my own. I had no help with my homework ever. And I figured out, you know, at high school, well, geez, if I just take these classes during study hall instead of wasting my time with another year in school, I can do this. And I had really no support. I don't even think my dad went to my graduation, and my mother was just, you know, it was about her as usual with the graduation parties and everything. So sometimes we have, you know, this narcissist mother where she can't nurture her own children. And then just recently, you know, I had seen her a few times. I had gone over to the house once. My grandmother had her boyfriend hitting on me, or her landlord, and I went over there to talk to my mother, and she sided with my grandmother, that I was making all this up. And my aunt supposedly said some things, and it was just a big mess. And I again felt like, geez, you know, I have a mother who can't even believe her daughter when she's trying to tell her something. And then I saw her one other time in Walmart, and it was kind of fake. I mean, kind of a fake kiss and everything. And so I hadn't been seeing her, but I did still, you know, ask how my parents are doing. And then recently she was in the hospital, and she doesn't want to see me anymore. You know, she's made up this story in her head that, you know, so much has happened, it's too hard for her, never mind that, you know, she's the one who has, you know, basically walked all over me, and I've had to put boundaries up, and she chose to coerce her daughter into an abortion, and I'm not the only one in the family who had one. I mean, this is something that has been a pattern in the family. So, and then you go over to the in-laws and you try to talk to them about an abortion, and they're saying, well, that's how you learn. That's what my mother-in-law said. That's how you learn, by having an abortion. And when you have in-laws who like to put you down and, you know, scream they're gonna kick the door in, it's just, you get that toxic stuff all around you, and you really have to be able to come into your own life, be able to say, I'm not putting up with the abuse, put up some boundaries, For me, as I went to church, like when my son was first born, I started going to church, and I had a lady right off the bat mentor me. And then I took like a MOPS class, and I took up more classes, and then I took classes at I started classes at CareNet with the teen program to help me through the teen years, because I was scared to death of the teen years. I know for my teen years, it was, I didn't have anybody. I didn't have any support. I had no one helping me during the teen years. So what I realized, and I read a lot, is the teen years can be the best years. I mean, this is when your kids become your friends. Hopefully after, if you do a good job, as they become adults, they become your friends. So it wasn't a real negative thing. I enjoyed the teen years with my kids. I still love my kids to pieces. I love being a mom. So what am I saying here? Okay, so I had, my kids in Awana and youth group and on mission trips, and I had gone to the churches, and I had a lot of support. Meanwhile, I had Bible studies, and I read a lot, and I did all I could to make sure that I was taking care of me. And I had done like a Grace for the Wounded group with the wounds family can bring into your life. And somebody had said to me, Melissa, look, you're taking care of everyone. Who's taking care of you? And that was something that was really helpful to me, to really learn to pamper myself, to take extra good care of me. So we really, the more we have self-love, the more we take care of ourselves and fill the well with water, the more we can take care of others. So this is my advice when you're experiencing toxic relationships, whether it's on one side of the family or the other, or just people in your life who like to tear you down, and they have issues where they feel better by tearing you down. Just put up the boundaries, put them up. And if you need to get help with things, go to other people. And it takes courage to get help. I mean, it's easy to want to look good and like you have your life together. And, what you want to do is you just want, like, I think about what Jesus says. He says, come to me, all of you who are heavy burdened. I will give you rest. I don't think I quoted that completely right, but that's basically what he's saying in a nutshell. And I just recently had someone say, wow, that rejection is a lot to carry. And I said, I don't carry it. I don't. I mean, it was assumed I carry it, and I made it clear I don't carry it. I just constantly in my life, when things come up, I just give it to God. I just, he's stronger than we are, so why would we carry it? So that's my advice. And I still look up stuff online about relationships and how to deal with things. And we really want to invest in ourselves. And my life went from, my family that I was closest to in the projects, they were dirt poor. My grandmother and my grandfather had their marriage annulled. I had one aunt and uncle divorced, one after another. My grandmother at one point was prostituting. Just a mess. I had an uncle in jail for drugs. Another uncle would do stupid stuff like, leave tires where he's not supposed to and go to jail for that for a while or whatever. But I also did have, with my closer family, within that family, I did have a great uncle who took us sledding and haunted houses, and really, he played soccer with us and football, and we had so much fun with him. He was more of a father figure to me than my own father. And I did have one aunt that I was close to who did, have a cool Camaro, and we went roller skating, and we had a lot of fun together. She would buy me the coolest clothes when I was growing up. So those are some things. And then I had a lot of country folk on the other side of my family, and they, they're just in their own ways, and, they couldn't really relate to us as well as my aunt and uncles could. So that's my story. My story is basically, coming from a family where there was a lot of dysfunction, to, the abortion forced on me as a kid, with my mother's perspective only, not mine, to the damage done there, and then the dating, and I kind of went downhill because of that. I never got into drugs or anything, but yeah, I was kind of, wounded by all that. And then to be able to, come into my own, being a mother, getting saved. Somebody asked me where I was going to bring my child to church. I said, I have no idea. I'm not religious. So I stepped into this church. I heard the gospel and I got saved. And as I heard the gospel, that God loves us so much that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life, I really was convicted that God loved me so much. And at that time in my life, I was really feeling the abortion hitting me. And although that was not my decision, the guilt of it was on me, and I couldn't forgive myself. And later I did put the ball where it belonged. I did put it in the court where it belonged. The right person got the blame instead of me being blamed, as I usually was for everything. So anyways, I did come to know God. I could not at first forgive myself. That scripture that lady gave me at the pregnancy center was, God forgives as far as the east to the west. I kept chewing on that and thinking, I can't forgive myself, because I've always loved kids. I had tons of cousins. I would bring them sledding and ice skating and take care of them. And then coming to the truth that that's really a child, I didn't know where to go. And then finally I thought, if God forgives me, who am I not to forgive myself? And that humbleness it took to accept God's forgiveness for just realizing I'm a sinner is what it turned into, more than the abortion, was very freeing. And that there's always forgiveness. So I raised my kids, I got all the resources I needed, and it turned out to be a happily ever after story for me in the end. I think about, boy, if I would have had support, I would have been able to probably graduate a lot better in school and not have so many holes that I did have, so many gaps when I was homeschooling. I probably would have not had to go through so much poverty maybe, but yet again, minimalism is a great lifestyle. I wouldn't have gotten saved. I wouldn't have seen my need for Christ. But it all turned out. Now I have a much better education. I'm much better off financially. We live in a beautiful home in the country, as I showed in these pictures. It took a while to get there, but it made me who I am, all the stuff that happened. So I don't regret anything, really. And you just see that God allows these trials in your life to make you and shape you into who he wants you to be. So I hope to use my story to help other women who maybe haven't gotten to the place of healing yet, and to know that they are loved. It's a process. It's knowing too, it's experiencing God and knowing that, if you trust in him, he's got you. He's got your back in every area. So I'm just going to end this here. But yeah, we want to come out of toxic relationships and heal. And then we just want to enjoy life and be able to relax. And I did recommend a book in one of my videos called Precious, where you think you have it rough sometimes. You look at someone else's life and you can see, when women are battered or they have incest in their life, it's very hard to overcome those things. So we want to help women. We want to support one another and not be catty. I had gone to hairdressing school before I had my son, and I was actually pregnant in hairdressing school when I was married, and I finished hairdressing school. So just because you're pregnant doesn't mean that you can't get an education, that you can't do your schooling. Many girls nowadays are pregnant and they finish school and they work, so there's really no excuse for abortion, really. If you don't want your baby, give it up for adoption. And if you need help with coming out with, that you're pregnant, talk to somebody that you know, there's CareNet centers all over the place to call them, and it's all confidential. Okay, so I'm going to end this, and thank you for joining me today, guys.